I'm on the Toddbrook Reservoir where 6 years ago 1,500 people were told to leave their homes as disaster was imminent. Today we're in the beautiful town of Whaley Bridge, and behind us is the Peak Forst Canal and the transshipment basin just up there for the Cromford High Peak Railway. This small town came close to tragedy when on the 1st of August 2019, 1,500 residents had to be evacuated from their homes when the threat of 1.3 million cubic metres of water could have descended on the town. A danger of life was issued by the Environment Agency and everyone was evacuated. So what happened to cause this? Let's pop up and have a look. And this is where it all started. This is Toddbrook Reservoir, and it sits above Whaley Bridge and is a feeder to the Peak Forst Canal. Now this feeds about a third of the water to the Peak Forst and Macclesfield Canal, so it's a major part of the canal network. Now extreme weather conditions in the lead up to the 1st of August had meant a lot of water was flowing down through the Todd Brook, which is where this gets its name from. That's a channel that runs around the side of this. And it had been overtopping this reservoir. Now this dam was never designed to take this much water. Now you can call it what you like, you can call it climate change, that's going to get a lot of comments, or you can call it what you want, but the fact is we're getting more and more extreme weather conditions, and this was a 1 in 10,000 year storm that had come down through here and caused all this water to spill down this spillway. Now to understand what went wrong, we need to understand how this dam was built. Now if you look at it, it's a big earth embankment, and you probably think of dams like the Hoover Dam when you think of a dam, a big concrete structure that's in like a curve that sits into a rock and it's anchored in, it's got a huge base and it goes up to a much thinner top. Now this is slightly different. It's designed in a similar way, it's got a large base, but it is an earth dam. And in the centre of this earth dam is a clay layer. Now this is a puddle clay like you get in the canal network, which seals the waterways, and this does the same thing. It not only acts as a massive anchor in the middle, it also seals the dam from the water coming through the sides. Now this is then covered with a mud layer, which you can see quite clearly behind me here. This mud layer in that section there is capped with the concrete, and it's big concrete sheets which are, poured like you would on a base of a canal you've seen in loads of places. Now that has gaps in the middle, and you need to keep those gaps sealed. And what happened is water was able to get down into those gaps for a number of years and been eroded underneath without anybody knowing. So this type of dam had a design flaw, and when that much water comes across the top, it really pulls on that weakness. Now water, if you have it going fast enough, will create suction, and what's happening is it was coming down and it was pulling at those joints and pulling the dirt up from underneath. And that sheer amount of water hollowed out underneath that concrete base and eventually led to the side of that dam collapsing. So those concrete panels started to slip, so as the water washed away more of the soil underneath, the dam was at severe risk of a breach, and the Environment Agency declared an emergency, and all the people in Whaley Bridge had to be evacuated. Now there were attempts made at that point to try and shore up the dam, and they brought in Chinook helicopters and they started dropping massive 1-ton bags of aggregate into that dam. There were about 400 or more put into that dam, and you just can't imagine the size of this dam when you're not stood next to it. It's huge. Now that's a lot of weight to put in there, but it wasn't still saving the town below. They had to drop that water level, and initially they had to drop it by 8 metres. So they fitted a bunch of pumps on the other side and started pumping. Now these pumps can take 200 litres per second of water, and I think there was 11 of them put in, and they had to make a decision at that time: risk the dam breaching or flood the already overcapacity waterways in the area. And they took the decision on risk that they had to get the water out of the dam. So it took 6 days to drop down by 8 metres, eventually dropping down to 12 metres. At that 8 metre point, people could return home and the dam was deemed safe. But for a long time, this dam was at huge risk of collapse. Now, the emergency response included Canal and River Trust, the Environment Agency. It included the local fire brigades and the police, who were excellent on the day. The army got involved with the Chinook helicopters. The locals came down in droves to try and save their town. And it was a massive response that was needed to save this. Kier came along, Kier managed the maintenance of it, so they had to come down to help make the plan. So what is the plan? We're down here 6 years later, and we're here to meet the Canal and River Trust now to see what is happening on this dam and how they're going to future-proof it.
Hello, I'm Dilwyn Parry. I'm Project Delivery Manager on behalf of Canal and River Trust here at Toddbrook Reservoir, and I'm in charge of the restoration works that are undertaken here. The works themselves are to build a new weir structure and a new spillway structure which takes the excess flood water off the dam and around the outside of it. The new weir structure we're building will replace both the old primary weir and the auxiliary weir, which was the one that failed in the event in 2019. Both those weirs will be took into the new tumble bay at the top end of site on the wet side of the dam, and the water will spill into the tumble bay and come round the slipway you can see behind you, come down the spillway, dissipates the energy as it goes down the steps and coming into this tumble bay right at the base here. This is the area where the energy of the water that comes down the slope will be got rid of by the water being constricted by the two big towers you can see on either side here, which will restrict the flow, form all the turbulence to happen inside a controlled concrete structure environment, take the energy out of it and let it go down into the river before it joins the Goit and goes off down towards Stockport.
Once this is done and this channel is finished, which should be by the end of this year, they're going to start filling it again. Now they can only fill it in 1 metre sections, so they've got about 12 metres to go up. Then they have to monitor it, make sure there's no issues, then they can fill up another metre and go on like that. So they've got sort of a time scale they can do it in.
We're hoping to start putting water in during the spring of next year. I'm looking to do it as soon after Christmas as possible. So it's just going to be a staged refill. We have to raise it a metre and then watch it for a week. So there's a minimum of 16 weeks, and that's if we get the rainfall between each of those sustaining periods. So it could take between 16, 26 weeks, depending on the rainfall coming in, to get it refilled. Once the reservoir's been refilled to its full level and the qualified civil engineer that inspects all the work has signed off that everything is safe and that we haven't got any unexpected patches of water through the dam, we can then start reusing it. The water will go down the culverts, which is just off site here, and go down to transshipment at Whaley Bridge.
Now, as you can see, the old reservoir wall here is now being dug out. So this is going to be turfed over and removed completely, so the spillway here will do all the work. Now if you look at the top, you can see a legato block wall, and that was put in originally to stop the reservoir from actually coming back over the top again. So that's going to all be kept, and they're going to sort this out. You used to be able to walk across the top of the reservoir, and the hope is once this is all done, you'll be able to do the same again. Work's going to carry on a little while longer after Christmas as well, because they've got loads to do here. So once this is actually done and they start filling, they've got lots of planting to do and stuff. So they are losing some habitat. They're getting rid of the Toddbrook from around the side, and it's going into this channel as well. So the original Toddbrook is going to be backfilled. They've got to put the sailing club back. They've got to do a load of tree planting. Now they've got a 10% net gain on biodiversity here once they finish this project.
The environmental mitigation we're doing as part of the project is to increase the biodiversity by getting rid of the plants that are all the same in the area and introducing a variety of plants, and helping to sustain the SSSI supported I think the bryophyte moss, which lives on this reservoir, is to help maintain that here as well, because that's the reason it's a SSSI in the first place.
So all the bits that they're doing, which are maybe not environmentally perfect, are being replaced somewhere else. So they are increasing the biodiversity here by quite a bit. So I want to thank Canal and River Trust for allowing me to come down here today. It's another fantastic opportunity they've given me to see parts of the network and the work going on behind the scenes. Now this has a huge effect on the rest of the canal network. There's lots of other reservoirs that need to be done now, and they need to sort them out every year.
Toddbrook Reservoir is one of 72 reservoirs the Canal and River Trust owns, and we're on an ongoing programme of 6 or 7 reservoirs every year to undertake some works on them. They won't all be the same scale as this one. This one's a brand new spillway structure, which is off the dam, and it's going to cost a lot more money than all the others. This one will cost us about 40 to 50 million pounds by the time you got all in projects in. The rest of them between 2 million and maybe 7 or 8 million. We'll be doing 6 or 7 of those a year, and it's using a lot of the budget that we would be spending on other parts of the network to keep them operational. Obviously this work is costing a lot of money for the Trust, which is a charity. We rely on funding coming in from the government, which in real terms, because of inflation, is decreasing year on year, and we need to get more money to look after the canals. The boaters contribute about a third of the money, and our own estates brings in the rest of the money. We need more money to keep us going, so if anyone wants to join us friends, that'd be great if you could do that.
Please do sign in the description. The 2 petitions I've got in there. One is the Canal and River Trust, and the other one is a Fund Britain's Waterways one. They will help massively in increasing funding for our canal network, which is desperately needed. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.